Good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to the 61st audio chat in the Q News Patriot Rumble Channel series. I'm the Q News Patriot, coming to you today with former Vermont gubernatorial candidate and Patriot for the People, Kevin Hoyt. My name is SG Anon. Many of you out there are likely to recognize Mr. Hoyt. Mr. Hoyt has been a fairly vocal voice online for quite a while, coming to the fore after the 2019-2020 debacles that we saw rock the U.S. and the Western world. He was one of the early Patriot voices to get in the fight digitally and say, no, it is time to stand up and move into action steps. For that, Mr. Hoyt has been targeted pretty considerably by the deep state apparatus and opponent that we talk about often on this program, most recently on July the 4th of 2024, just 4 days ago, where Mr. Hoyt was detained, arrested, jailed, and forcibly injected against his will and without his consent. He's here to share a story of patriotism, a little bit of background, and hopefully some solutions for patriots out there as we go forward. Mr. Hoyt, is truly a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
No, it's an honor, honor to walk the path with you for a little while. And again, all of us, all the people that are trying out there, this isn't a one-man show. We're all in it together, and it's a privilege to be here with you. So thanks for having me.
Well, the privilege is mine, my friend, and most of my audience out there is likely familiar with your background. But for those who are not, do you care to give us a little bit of a digest, a reader's summary, if you will, of where you came from and why you're in the fight in the fashion you are, and why they evidently felt so threatened by you and by your actions so as to forcibly inject you on Independence Day of this year?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm a simple deer hunter. I'm a regular person, just like anybody watching this. I avoided religion and politics my entire life, like most sane people. And yeah, here I am. Many days I ask myself, like, how did I get here, right? And the only answer I have is God sent me, and I feel so unworthy when I say that. But historically, he chooses the oddest of characters, right? I'm a flawed man, a sinner, far from perfect. But I was sick of, watching my friends and neighbors suffer. I had a pretty good life going. And again, I'm sick of losing my rights and freedoms and liberties. So I ran for office, didn't know nothing about politics, got my butt handed to me from a guy from Chicago. That blessing of losing forced an election audit. So again, I did an election audit back in 2018. This was for House, again, my race. But out of 5,500 people, we unleashed over 500 names of fraud. And that was just the A's and half the B's. We got 60 to 70% fraud in Bennington County, Vermont. We can trace it back at least to 1975. After that, it became a reporting party for our multi-state federal RICO investigation. Everybody was told me to tell my sheriff the charges on the BOLO, statewide issue law enforcement, be on the lookout for my sheriff and my high bailiff, were human trafficking, drug trafficking, murder, obstruction. So again, I went from the sheriffs over to judicial, and we started climbing the ladder. And in the last 2 years, we've removed over 150 elected officials here in Vermont State, but nobody really knows about it. The media's against it. And again, it all leads back to human trafficking. Unfortunately, we've connected it with CPS here in Vermont State. We call that DCF, for the Department of Children and Families. Just what a wild, crazy ride. And of course, if you stand up, they're going to come. And the taller you stand, the harder they come. So they cut my brake lines as a candidate for governor in April of 2022. So I had to leave my home and community, more for fear, people around me. That the shield of faith, right? The armor of God. Most of your viewers know what we're talking about. It's a heavy shield, man. It has to be. But I got a good grip on it. It's got to stop all those arrows. And they're constant. But again, I'm not afraid, and I'm doing it not just for myself, but for everybody. So much bigger than politics. And not only a current governor, I ran in 2020 and 2022 for governor in Vermont. And I'm running in 24 also. I'm the candidate they don't want to debate, and they don't want you to know about. And I know why. So again, it's so big and so deep and so crazy. It's inconceivable to find ourselves where we are today. But I think people are aware now. So, and we're the answer. We're the catalyst.
Amen. We the people are the cure, according to certain entities online, the cure to their disease of corruption and gluttony and greed. And you said a moment ago that you weren't afraid, and you don't resonate with any sort of fear even now. You speak very articulately, albeit you seem a little bit under the weather. resolute, determined, stout. And so I would venture a guess to say that they are very afraid of you. Do you care to give us a window into the events of July 3rd, 4th, and 5th of this year?
Sure. Well, and again, they are very afraid. In fact, the challenge for anybody watching this, you guys got grievances. When you have a grievance, you're supposed to take it to your leaders, right? World genocide, child trafficking, pretty good grievances. You got lots of your own grievances. You don't need me, but if you need some, there's like 8 years on my social media pages. SG gives you a bunch, right? So take some of those complaints and bring it to your officials. That's what the Constitution tells you to do. Bring us with you for our sheer entertainment, if nothing else. But what was the question, SG? I'm sorry. I got sidetracked.
I was just asking if you could give us a window
Yeah,
into the events of July 3rd,
the third
4th,
and the fourth.
5th of this year.
Okay, well, again, this comes from, we got to go back a lot farther, right? So I came back from an election integrity conference with Juan O'Savin down in Orlando, Florida. And that's when they actually issued a warrant for my arrest. That was October of 22, right? So this has been ongoing for a long time. Before that, again, what happened is my crime, I stand before you today charged with the crime of reporting their crimes. So again, the gentleman that they chose to appoint, I got to be very careful here because of my court order, to stop me in 2018, right? It turned out that he had a pretty good record, and I can't say his name. I can't, I was given a court order that said I couldn't verbally say a name, and I absolutely could not share any evidence of felony gun crimes, among lots of other things. So I had a problem with that. I went to my police chief and tried to tell him. He shuts the door on me while he's not wearing his badge. A lot of crazy things going. And again, that's where the whole thing started. So then I was attacked during an election day. I was filming, asking questions of another thing. This gentleman came at me, so I filed a restraining order, and I got one, and he got one too. But again, part of mine said I couldn't say a name, or again, it took away my First Amendment. I got away with it for a long time. It didn't slow me down. But then 2 weeks before the elections in 2022, they decided to use it against me. And again, I've been a governor in exile since April when they cut my brake lines anyway. So I just continued as normal. Again, that all came to a head on Independence Day, 2024. What a better day to spend in jail, right? But I learned a lot. I was in Fairhaven, Vermont, looking for our two-time convicted police chief. Nobody's around, right? I go looking for these guys again, and I had a warrant, so they picked me up, and I never did see the police chief, right? And that's where I spent a couple hours again in jail, and one of the most, I guess, terrifying things was that injection that you were talking about. It was a TB test, which again, I don't know. They stuck a needle in me. It wasn't a regular test or a scratch like I'm used to TB tests. I did look it up, and they do that. I mean, it's a regular test with a needle now. They can do it that way. I'd never heard anybody getting tested for TB going to jail before, but I verified they do that in Vermont State now too. But I openly said, no, I don't have tuberculosis. I don't need to have tuberculosis. And if you really think about it, I was put into jail, and this test takes 24 to 72 hours to get the result. Well, no one ever looked. No one ever called me or checked. I was only going to be in jail a couple hours. I had court in less than 12 hours the next day. They weren't interested in results. They weren't interested in even looking. I don't know if it was a TB test. When we get into I got an X39, life wave patch on here now, one of the glutathiones, but this area, the injection site, became very sore like 3 days later. Again, it's only 4 now. And then I have a vein. You can't see it now, but I have a vein that actually turned black. Like it freaked me out. It was right out of a cartoon or a horror film. I'm like, what is this? I talked to a couple medical people. They think maybe that was a collapsed vein. It's not normal for me. And you say I'm a little under the weather. I am. I'm a little cloudy. My mind's not quite where it usually is. I walk, I don't know, 100 meters, and I got to rest a little bit. I'm exhausted. Not to mention the diarrhea, the headaches, the everything that comes with it. And I'm not a sick guy. I've always been really, really healthy, and it's just happened now. So again, hats off to all the light workers and spiritual workers out there. Like a lot of people, again, these prayer groups, that works. A modal water experiments. People should research that if you don't know about it already. But prayer works. That's why our parents used to pray over our food, right? These guys, again, all across the earth. And I'm honored to be a part of that. And thank you, everybody who sent the love and the prayers. So the black vein went away. And then to make it even weirder, it was indented. It looked like a scar. It was like deep in my arm. I'm like, what is going on? As of today, it's back to normal. We got some pretty cool pictures and stuff, and we'll be sharing that also. I'm trying to determine or figure out what exactly they injected into me. Called the jail today. They told me the typical answer. I don't know if it's like the vaccine though, or they got, individual batches for whoever. But yeah, I'm a little concerned, and they couldn't tell me the name of the person who injected me, which I don't understand either as my medical right.
Could
I
not or would not.
would not. They said, no, we're not comfortable giving names. And I'm like, man, this is that's a problem for me. I'd like to know if she's qualified. Is she even a nurse? Does she know what she was putting in my body? Right. It's part of the medical department at the correctional facility. But there's so many questions here. And, again, we know all the systems now, whether it's the judicial system, the for-profit judicial system. We look at our police, our Freemason police forces all over, you know, these are the same people that I've been accusing of human trafficking, murder, obstruction, are the same people that I'm basically turning myself into now. I'm in an election that I know is rigged because I did the audit, and now I'm in a corrupt court system fighting the same corrupt system. So odds are, without that, armor of God and shield, I'd be in a lot of trouble. But I got the shield of faith. Again, I got Jesus is my lawyer and justice and truth on my side. And all the people that have been chasing me, all the people that I've called out over the last 8 years, three-quarters of them are not there anymore. They're gone. I can't explain that. I'm not a federal employee. I'm not arresting anybody. If you people who follow Mike Gill, Mike thinks they're getting whacked. Some people think it's like a pedophile priest. We catch him in Vermont, you just ship him to Idaho, and it's the end of the story. And they set up shop. I believe they're getting federally indicted. In fact, I think most of this is over, SG. I think what we're watching right now, for the most part, on television is theater. I think for generations, the bad guy controlled the media, and they used it to, sway the minds of the masses. So what I tell people now, I have a little bit of faith and can see, been given the gift of vision, is that news is not for us, right? That news is to wake people up. If we were comfortable, we would never move. So are you comfortable yet? And SG, let me ask you. I mean, let's pretend for 2 seconds that we were in charge of this giant, movement. And again, it's, I think, worldwide movement, but we're in charge of the US. We don't want people to know it's a military state. That's scary, right? Mass chaos, anarchy, the whole bit. We can't let it go past the point of no return, which is our infrastructure. And we're right there, right at this moment, actually, right? Look at the financial and all systems, medical, judicial, it's all systems down right now. But I still would make the people do it. I would push the people until they were the ones that actually were activated. That's why I said I think we're the catalyst, and I think we're doing it, even though people are missing that part. What do you think?
I think overall, I would have to agree with that. And, we have evidence to show and have showcased on this program that a great deal of what's happening both domestically in the United States and in the NATO West is at the behest of a much broader continuity and preservation of operations mission. It truly is an incredible time to be alive. And really, I want to bring that back to exactly what you just said a moment ago, having the people step into their own power, opening the pathway for the people to walk back into the regency, back into the pulpit, back, and take back the reins of the society that they live within. You have now personally essentially paid a very high price for that, not knowing what was forcibly put into your body. I would say that that is the basis of tyranny, if there ever was one, when one doesn't have control over one's own bodily autonomy. And yet at the same time, you stand here with such admiration and such demeanor of peace and justice and faith and compassion that it's very, very compelling, and it's really quite exhilarating. So if and in our discussion a moment ago, I don't even recall exactly what crime you said it was that you were charged with. You said reporting on their crimes. That sounds to me like a freedom of speech basic
It is.
underpinning, not to get into legal jargon or legal issues. So with
I
that,
have I have three, again, it's three misdemeanors for violating a no stalking order. Again, this gentleman that attacked me, I got a no stalking order, and the judge was kind enough to grant him one against me also. But in mine, it said that I could not say his name verbally. Yeah, that's legal. And I absolutely couldn't share evidence. I've got some pretty solid evidence, right? And again, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, anybody out there who likes the First Amendment. Cindy Young, our superhero, J6 grandma from New Hampshire, I think she's going to bring down the whole house. She's going to Washington, and they told her you can't mention the First Amendment. That's what the court told her. This is a new court rule for J6ers, at least Cindy Young. You can't talk about the First Amendment. That's people. This is optics. Unfortunately, people like me and Cindy are the ones that get to suffer to show you guys. So I hope you wake up quick. I mean, you can't talk about the First Amendment in court. I think that violates the First Amendment. Like it's it's so outrageous that
Saturday Night
Kathy
Live on
Kathy
steroids.
O'Brien, the satanic ritual abuse on a presidential level, and they stopped her with the National Security Act because you're right. When you guys find out what they've been doing, not just with your money, but with our children, you're not going to be happy. 250 plus years we've had our firearm freedoms. They're about to take them away from you because you're going to find out they're doing stuff that you're going to want to shoot them for. And I'm not advocating for that. That's the elephant in the room. That's what they want, by the way. So we do it with law and order. And you talk about a smile, throw a little joke in there, stay calm, smile at them. You guys want to know a weapon. When you're going in for the hit, right? And I got my senator against the ropes and I've got my evidence in hand. Smile. They explode, guys. Our biggest weapon, one of them is, again, love. I, th I think. And I'd like to say, it's not fun to have your brake line cut and warrants and have to run around. It's a really expensive way of living and everything else. But I can't say it's not fun. Like, it's getting to the point now where, again, I can see it, the gift of vision. All these people are disappearing. Hey, that's not Joe Biden. I said that six years ago, and I was crazy Kevin. Now everybody's like, hey, man, that's not Joe Biden, right? Well, who is it then? And who's he working for? I believe he's a patriot. Bumbling, stumbling Joe is waking up a lot of people. If you missed the debate, you should go back and again, and that wasn't live. Like, again, I'm a professional producer. I host I used to host and produce outdoor television, 106 million homes at one time. I was traveling the world hunting with wounded warriors and kids. That's a pretty good gig for Kevin, right? My dream career. I found it a long time ago. But then I got, backed into that corner. It's fight or flight. And historically, Vermonters don't make good runners. SG, we talked off air. I got to brag. My 5 times great grandfather, Harry, was the first free Hoyt. Signed the, Treaty of Paris, hung out with George Washington, guys like Sam Adams. And that blood is in my veins and it's in the soil. It's the same right, same freedom, same exact soil. You guys tell me this is about politics. This is our home, right? It's so much bigger than politics or Donald Trump or the United States. That's what I said. This is happening all over. Pick a country. There's a million people rioting right now, except the United States. So that's odd to me. And I'm not asking for riots either, but you guys should be, getting involved and participating. My family got here, in the early 1600s. So a long time before it was called Vermont or United States of America. The only time in history we had to use our Second Amendment to defeat a tyrannical government and abolish slavery and involuntary servitude. Well, Vermont and the Hoyts, we were part of that too. So, there's no way in hell that I'd miss this. And all the Vermonters out here watching, like, we just have to remember who you are. You're a Vermonter, right? And this, I think, is as easy as just like doing the right thing. sometimes it's hard if it's not popular. And historically, it always hasn't always worked out for those first few brave patriots that dare stand. But somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Here, go ahead, SG.
You know, an old family maxim of mine that I heard years and years ago was that what is popular is not always right, and what is right is not always popular. And it's incredible that you've been on the journey that you have, and the events of the recent days sort of serve to punctuate that in a very profound way. So, where do we go from here? In your own opinion, we stare at a presidential election season, certainly a season of chaos getting ready to ramp up before us. Most patriots out there are aware that a lot of this is coming. So how do
Mhm.
we move through it gracefully with the type of stature and stillwardness that you have? And what advice would you give to my audience?
Well, again, I think a lot of this is theater that we're watching. I'm not sure if we'll have an election. In fact, we don't have elections. That's the raw truth. If people want to know, right? We didn't have from 2020 on. We haven't had elections. Good news is it's not quite over. We caught them, but these things take time. In my opinion, my hypothesis from experience and a lot of really smart people from all over the world, I think that top tier is gone. And when I say top tier, it's not the Obamas and Fauci's and Clintons, but we'll say that for now. It's the people who you don't know their name. And those are the scary ones. But that top tier is gone. I think the next tier, like my governor, infiltrator, turncoat trader Phil Scott, the CCP Team Biden Republican. Figure that one out. He's my current governor here in Vermont State. And I think they're controlled opposition. And it has to be covert. What covert means is a secret, right? And for all sorts of reasons, if you really, really think about it, both sides, the good guys and the bad guys aren't going to admit their felony crimes. They're never going to tell you, oh, you're right, Kev, you got me, right? They're not going to do that. And then the good guys, for obvious reasons, if all the low level minions below my governor knew, then what these people do again is they're Satanists, they're Luciferians, as crazy as that sounds. They burn down the village and kill everybody around them along with themselves. That's what they do, right? It's so inconceivable, like I said. So I think my advice for people is to not get into the fear porn. Like you have so much power. Your mom was right. You're special. Like people have to realize you grew up on a backwoods farm in Iowa and you've never been off the farm. I bet you know a lot about tractors and growing corn and horses and cows and a lot more than I do in that field. So we all have a little piece of this puzzle. So it's as simple as I think using your voice. If I could let every American taste a little bit of liberation is when you finally get brave enough, and you're going to have to make this choice, by the way. Everybody's going to have to make this choice. But when you finally get brave enough and you lock your knees and stand up, you actually see them cower. You see the fear. You can watch that now. They're already in hiding. I don't think they can hurt us anymore, SG. So I'm asking everybody, just grab your armor of God, have a little faith, and step up. When you see something wrong, see something, say something, do something is the last part of that. We need to do a little more doing and participating. And just like I can brag about my great great grandfather, my great 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 grandkids are going to be able to brag about me. I think these are unprecedented historic times, and I hope you're not missing it. Anybody that's watching, you're up, you're at the plate, swing, at least swing that back, man. You got nothing to lose. You can roll over and die, comply, give in. It's not pretty. Or you can stand up and fight back. And I'm so thankful. I think we're all blessed to be here at this time. It's an amazing time to be alive. And I'm thankful it's not our kids. Imagine how tough it's going to be for them if we don't do it. But I think we've done it. I think we're already done. That's my, again, solutions is another one, SJ. Some of the stuff that's coming out right now is pretty incredible. When you say,
I think we are living through incredible and amazing times, and you actually segued immediately into my next and last question prior to having Patriots, prior to you telling us where Patriots can find you. And that is about solutions. You know, my understanding is that you've been exploring solutions of your own potential solutions to leverage against what amounts to a fictitious corporate government masquerading as the lawful government of the United States and the union of these 50 states. Do you care to Give us a little bit of information about the arenas that you've been investigating without divulging any sort of orders or prematurely stating anything on air.
Well, I can tell you, I have a solution, a proven way out of the opioid crisis. Everybody in the world should be interested in that. I'm going to lead Vermont State and then the nation out of the opioid crisis. I promise. We're going to save money and we're going to save lives. You want sustainable farming? We got it. The stuff we're doing with hemp, which just happens to clean the soil, which was another problem. We're making cars and planes and armor out of hemp. Whose army wears hemp? God's army wears it. There's so many things here. We have so many health devices, whether it's frequency here, healing, or the stem cells, or that's huge too. We got economic growth and development. Like, we've got some real jobs. And the exciting part of, the future, I love to predict the future by making it. That's what I'm telling people right now. There's so much opportunity at hand right now. If you're not missing it, if you're not afraid to step up. And I think doing the right thing in the service of others, for Vermonters, that's easy. And we have a saying here in Vermont, it's called Vermont Strong. And that means we're all in this together. We have a natural emergency. You wake up in the morning and, your car's in the river and taking out the bridge in the neighbor's house, and like all these floods and stuff we had a few years ago. They used to call us Minutemen, SG. My great-great-grandfather, like said way back when, they called us Minutemen because that's about how long it takes for us to get out and help your neighbor. That's not hard. So I guess that's the spirit that I'm hoping America gets, and I hope they step up to the plate. I know a lot of people are counting on me here in Vermont. Well, I'm counting on you too, and it's not just Vermont State. So again, thanks for having me, SG. If people want to find me, it's Kevin Hoyt VT on Telegram. And then again, well, Kevin Hoyt anywhere. The Grassroots Warrior Network is a network that we just started. It's me and 20 of my favorite friends, some of your favorites from all over the world. We do 3 shows a day, right? At least 3 shows, usually a lot more, and it's always free. That's on Rumble. So again, the Grassroots Warrior Network. And on great shows like SG Anon. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Well, thank you for coming on. It truly is a team effort, and it takes all of us, we the people, contributing all of our skill sets, talents, experiences, and I would even argue in some cases our ancestral appointments. We are chosen for such a time as this. It's a great privilege and an honor to be here with the audience out there and with you, sir. Thank you for joining. And for the folks out there, I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. I'll be back with each of you again soon on the Q News Patriot. Thanks, everyone. God bless. Bye-bye.